This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional medical advice or be a substitute for therapy. Please contact a mental health professional as needed. If you are in need of urgent or emergency health care, please contact your medical and/or mental health provider, call 911, or go to your nearest emergency room. The information presented in this podcast does not reflect the opinions of those with whom Dr. Ellick might be affiliated as an employee, consultant, or colleague, past or present. Hello, and welcome to another episode of From Mayhem to Mindset with Dr. Laura. I am your host, Dr. Laura Ellick, and my guest today is a brave, brave soul. There are all kinds of stories that people come on here and they tell, and I'm always so grateful when people come on and tell their story. Danny has been willing to come on and tell a story that is very challenging. It's a story about growth, but it's also about infidelity, and it's about all of the things that go along when there is a rupture in a marriage and a relationship. So I'm very happy for Danny to be joining us today, but let's talk a little bit about who Danny is. Danny Merle is a life coach, writer, and educator with over a decade of experience helping people grow, both inside the classroom and out. A proud native Texan, Danny holds a bachelor's degree in applied arts and sciences with an emphasis in sociology from the University of North Texas. She's a certified teacher and is also certified in cognitive behavioral therapy. That's right up my alley. Mm-hmm. She is currently pursuing her ICF coaching certification to continue deepening and refining her work. Danny's journey into coaching was sparked by her own path of breaking generational cycles and learning to heal by removing shame, blame, and guilt from the equation, making room instead for grace and love. This gentle approach transformed her life and led her to dream of someday helping others find their way out of shame and into soft acceptance and loving growth. Now, through coaching, she supports others in embracing their truth and building authentic, wholehearted lives. Her upcoming book shares this deeply personal story of transformation and offers a guide for anyone ready to step into self-honesty and compassion. And we'll have people, you'll be able to give people all of your contact information later, Danny, so that people can reach out to you. But welcome. It's so nice to have you here.
I am so happy to be here.
You are a very brave soul indeed. Danny and I met because I put out a little blast on Facebook, asking if people were willing to tell their story about infidelity. And I know it's going on because the statistics say that it is going on way more than we would ever expect. Not only was Danny willing to come on and tell her story, she was willing to do it without being anonymous, which I have to say, I just have to give you props for that. So I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. I mean, I think over the last 10 years, I've really learned to embrace my story on all sides, the good and the bad, because it's all part of me. And I've learned to love all of the parts that even have made mistakes or did something I wouldn't do now, so
right.
It's
right.
important.
So, I mean, in an ideal world, people don't go into a relationship or a marriage or whatever thinking, yeah, I'm going to cheat. Like, right. We obviously don't do that. But tell me a little bit about the story about even how you and your ex-husband now met.
So I went to school on a whim when I was 18, and I decided to go to art school in Savannah, Georgia at the Savannah College of Art and Design.
You went to SCAD?
Yeah, I went to SCAD. Yeah.
I love SCAD. My son was going to do a graduate degree there. Beautiful, yeah, beautiful.
Great school. And I just was drawn to it. I thought it sounds beautiful. I wanted to get out of Texas, so I went. I didn't know anybody. It was, I don't know how my parents allowed me to do it. But so I went and I met him there. And we were both art students. And we just clicked. We were really just almost like best friends, like right off the bat. And I thought, wow, I've never had a friend that was so instantly close.
So you felt that click?
Yeah, there was a click. But for me, I think on my end, it felt like a friendship thing. Like we're best I just met my best friend.
Mhm.
But I didn't necessarily feel like an attraction at first. But then as the friendship progressed, he had confessed that, hey, I think I'm in love with you. And I was like, really? And at the time I just thought, okay, like maybe I'll try this. I
No
just,
clue. You had no clue he was interested.
no, no,
So you
he's,
really thought this was a best friend kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. I thought, it was, yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't think he was interested in me. And I was happy with being friends. But then he wrote me a letter one time and just was letting me know, and then I had to kind of go from there and decide, what I wanted to do. And I decided like, I'm young. Why not? I'll try dating my best friend and see how it goes.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, he was a little different. He wasn't the typical kind of guy I would date. He was a little more effeminate. And I thought, well, that's okay. That's I was open at that time to just people who I clicked with.
Right. So, I mean, you came from Texas where, look,
Yeah.
I'm going to the stereotype of Texas, but,
Yeah.
I think the Texas guys are a little bit different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
They're
I was
their
at
own
art
kind of.
school. So there was so many different kinds of people there that I thought, well, like I'm in the big wide world. I was 18 and thought everybody's so different. And, I love that world, the art world. Everybody
Mhm.
was just so uniquely themselves. So
So you were really a baby. You were just 18.
yes, yes. I was 18 when we met and then we started dating. And fun fact, the first time that we had sex, we got pregnant. so,
Wow. Hmm. Hmm.
and so it was just kind of like this like thing that went from being like, I really enjoy dating for now, my best friend, I'm kind of seeing what happens to we're about to have a baby together.
Wow. So much for trying it out and seeing what happens, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm 20. I mean, we were friends for a year. We probably started dating when I was 19, you know, and some change. And then we got pregnant. And then it was just that was it. It was okay, we're going to do this forever. I knew I wanted to have the baby. And so we decided to go for it and we moved to Texas. We left SCAD and moved to Texas. So I didn't finish my degree. He didn't finish his. He was pretty close. I had 2 years. So then we
So
moved.
that was a big transition too then. So, I mean, at the time, he was the one who really pursued you
Yeah.
and made his feelings for you known, right? So when you guys decided, did you feel that it was a joint decision, like to let's leave SCAD and go back to Texas, let's get married? Or do you feel that it was like, again, like it was kind of his idea that you sort of were like, okay, like, why not?
Yeah, it was I thought we can make it work, finish your degree, like I'll kind of keep working. We have friends, we can do that, but I think it was just a little scary for him. Uh the idea of being a dad and going to school, and so he quit school. And I mean, I never asked him to. I always worry that his parents thought I was like, well, you need to quit and take care of me and my baby.
Mhm. Right.
So I it was very weird when he came home and said I quit. And then it was like, okay, well now you quit school. Well, now what? Like, what are we gonna do now? And then he was like, well, my family said come to Texas. So I mean, I'm grateful that he was willing to come to Texas so I could be near my family.
Mhm. So, okay, so you have the baby,
Yes.
right? Boy, girl.
So we have our baby Lily,
Mhm.
who is now 21 years old. And it's great. We're doing good for two 20-year-olds who just kind of had a baby, dropped in their orbit. So we were doing good. And our relationship was going well. And so then I thought I'd want her to have a sibling. So we had another one and we got married, and we got married in between the two. And
Mhm.
then we were just kind of building a little life. But the whole time I just kind of felt like there was this quiet whisper, and this is so depressing, but there was this quiet whisper at every Christmas after the kids were kind of starting to grow up a little bit of like, this is going to be our last Christmas together. And I'm the only one who knows it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I would
So you
always
had that.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, I always would have that thought. And I always felt like, and then as the years progressed, I started being like, I think this might be the last Christmas. Like, it became more loud, more concrete, more I maybe acceptance is what it was. I was just
For
like,
all of these years, it sounds like you were kind of processing the inevitability. But when you guys got married, did you really think at the time, oh yeah, this is definitely forever? Or did you have some sort of like, oh, I'm not too sure about this, but this is the best thing to do for the baby and for us for right now? And
I think back to what my little 21-year-old brain probably was thinking at the time. And I think I felt very much like, what else am I mean, I cared about him very much. I thought he was good at being a dad. He was very present. And I thought this is probably the best situation that I can be in because I like him. He treats me well. We laugh. He's consistent, all those good things. There were so many good things um, that I just couldn't rationalize saying no to. Or,
right. This wasn't a guy who, once he found out you were pregnant, was like going to take off and like leave
right.
you. This was a guy who really wanted to create something with
Yeah.
you. So you start building your little family. What did that little whisper sound like? Was it starting to be we're not compatible, or we're more friends, or I want something more out of life? Can you kind of get into a little bit, if you know, how that played out?
It was like, I think it had a lot to do with physical attraction for a lot of it. I just thought like there was some part of me that didn't want to be like the girl who was uh naively in love with her gay best friend.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I felt like people, as the years progressed, people would see us and be like, "What's the story here?" You know, and I would have to be like, "Well, we're married." You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And I always was just like, "Oh." So like that would get to me, and I always felt really torn about that. Like that's so selfish. I shouldn't let that get to me. He's the one who has to deal with the emasculating comments, and it just made me feel so guilty for having those thoughts, because I felt like his whole life he had been treated as I don't know, as less of a man in some ways around people. Or so I could never bring myself to ask him or address it. Like, I don't feel super attracted to you, like physically. I didn't know how to say that.
Is there a good way to say that? I can't think of a good way to say that, except when you say to someone, I view you as more of a friend. But you guys obviously, well, had you guys not gotten married, maybe it would have actually gone in that direction.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, what if I had just said, whoa, let's pump the brakes. Let's just raise this baby as whatever. I wish that, like, let's figure this out because I feel like I'm not 1,000% sure on this. Just that I wish I had that little moment.
Mhm. And again, we have to say you were a baby. And so if you think about your daughter Lily, who's 21, who is like your age, right? I mean, when you watch her, do you think about, oh my God, that was me?
Man, all the time. I'm just like, who let me have a baby at that age?
Exactly, right. Exactly. Exactly. So, I
Yeah.
mean, we can look back on it and say, oh, I should have, I could
Yeah.
have, but as you said, you've gone on a journey where you really have been just accepting the entire story. So you're hearing these rumblings in the community or whatever. You already knew that he was more of an effeminate style, not the typical guy that you were usually attracted to. So you're struggling with the physical attractiveness to him, but he's still being a decent
Yeah.
provider and father and husband. Mhm.
Yeah.
So how did you hide that conflict in your head? Did you talk to anyone?
I rarely talk to anyone. If anyone, I just told my sister. I have a lot of sisters, but I had one sister that I kind of confided in, and it kind of started as more of me noticing that he was very unhappy. Like whatever job he was in, he was unhappy. Whatever house we lived in, he didn't like. And I started thinking like, maybe you just don't like this life because it's not aligned. Like I felt like I was seeing it before him in some ways, like you're not happy. And then it started to trickle down into, you know what, like I don't even know what I'm fighting for at this point, like because you're not happy either. um and I think the really big shift came. I was a stay-at-home mom till my son, and I was finishing my degree. I finished my degree while I was a stay-at-home mom, online classes, taking kids up to community college and strollers, and finished my degree and got my teaching certificate and started teaching when my son went into kindergarten. And I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. I have like great hours to be with I'm on the kid schedule. I'm teaching art. This is so great. I had like figured out my calling at the time. And then he got really bitter about that. Like, oh, it must be nice to love your job. Like things like that.
So you saw the resentment starting to grow.
Yeah. And then that made me like, I thought you'd be happy. Like you've been complaining the fact that I've been a stay-at-home mom and haven't had an income, and now we have two. But I think when I went into the working world, it just felt like, it was almost like getting a taste of like alignment and then being like, I want more of this.
So had you
And
guys been able to have the conversation previously? It sounds like there were some conversations about money and you wanted to go back to work and do that kind of thing, and you could see that he was unhappy, but did you guys ever have a sit down and be like, I'm unhappy. It seems like you're unhappy. Like, what's going on here? Were you able to have that?
I would say, yeah, I would kind of ask, like, what do you think it is? What do you, and he would always say, well, you're the only thing that makes me happy. Like, and I just would be like, that is a lot, because then I would hear those rumblings in my head going, well, you're the only thing that makes this guy happy. You can't, or you can't rip that away. And it was just a lot of pressure. And I would be like, well, I can't be the only thing, like the kids. And there's, there's so many things that could make you happy, that could help be part of it. And I don't know, there was just, it was like, that's where the conversation would stop. And then, and then it would there was not a lot of arguing in our relationship. There was very low. I mean, I wish that I had said, let's sit down and talk about this. But I grew up in a very tumultuous household with arguing and, I mean, literally pulling kids by the arms back and forth. And
Oh, sure.
so I just thought, well, this is healthy. We're not arguing. So that means this is healthy. And it wasn't.
And so you learned that like you're not communicating, at all, even though, and the conversation stopped, which also means that he probably didn't want to take it to whatever the next level was. So, so we're going to pause for a break, and then I'm going to come back and ask you the big question. Okay, so here we are. So we are back. So Danny, here's the big question. You go back into the workplace. Looks like you're growing in one direction. Your husband may or may not be growing in his own direction. He's growing dissatisfied, that's for sure. Where did the other person in your marriage come into play?
So I had been working and kind of it felt like I was happy at work, and happy with my kids. But when it came to my marriage, it felt like it just started to become way on the back burner, and I could feel it, and I felt guilty about it. And then, I met somebody at work, and we just really hit it off. As far as being a teacher, buddy, he was like, I had never had a partner to teach with. And it was so awesome. I mean, I just felt like you really care about making art and making content and making meaning out of the work instead of just teaching kids how to draw the face or something. I was really into that. Like, let's get down to the meaning of your work. And so it just felt like this person that got, he made me laugh, and he got my work, which when I went home, I felt like I couldn't celebrate things at work because it would be like, oh, must be nice. I would get that at home. So it really felt great. And his name was Locke, and we just kind of hit it off. And then, one happy hour, it just one of those things, that just a hug turns into a kiss, and then
you're off and running.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh my gosh. And the attraction, that's.
So you had mentioned, obviously, with Locke, you connected with him, you clicked with him. Can you describe the difference in that click versus the click that you had with your ex-husband when you guys met at SCAD?
Oh,
did you know right away? Like, did you know this is a different?
Yeah, it felt like more of a, like, I can't, like a chemistry, like a different, like not a friendship chemistry, like a love chemistry, like a sexual chemistry. I don't know. It was just different.
So were you nervous when you first felt that? And did you feel it like as soon as you met him, or you guys just started working together and you looked up one day and were like, whoa?
Yeah, I definitely think it was very slow because it's like, this guy, we work together. I'm like, this is my job. I mean, I'm not crazy. I can't have, and so it was very slow. I mean, it very much was just a progression, maybe flirtations, little things that felt very harmless, but obviously weren't.
Was he married? Was he married too?
No, he was not. He was divorced, and his kids had, as I found out as we were getting to know each other, were living in Canada with his wife, and that was a very traumatic experience for him, his kids being far away.
Sure.
And but that also scared me a lot because I was like, well, this guy, like, that's a lot going on with him, so there was a lot of reasons to like keep my distance, but just.
And so, okay, so this happens after that very happy hour, right? Now you guys are like, oh no. Or maybe you weren't like, oh no, maybe you're like, the decision's clear for me now. So what happens afterwards? How do you know what to do?
So, I think back at that time about the things that I was squeezing into my life, like time with him. And I just think about like, wow, I was really making it work, but we saw each other at work too. And, I would make the whole crew's going for happy hour, or, things like that. And it just, I don't know what I thought I was doing. I think I just thought, well, I'm getting something out of my system maybe. But then as time progressed, it was just more than like a hookup. It was like, I like talking to you. We aligned on the way we thought about life and kids and, being positive about things. I just wanted somebody to be excited about life with me, and not like, oh, everything's awful. And, and if I'm not happy, I'm going to figure out how to make it work. Like, I wanted something like that, not just like, oh, everybody's against me. That was just getting real old for me. And I was just like, I kind of grown out of that,
So, and I want to make this point really, really clear because I've done a whole series on cheating and infidelity on TikTok and on my YouTube and all of that stuff. And a lot of it is tongue in cheek, focusing on some of the more outrageous reasons that people give for cheating, usually men, right? But I want to really make it clear in this particular situation, there was nothing nefarious about this. You were not seeking this. You were not looking for this. You were not looking to hurt somebody, to live a double life. Like none of this was your intention. This was sort of something that you just kind of fell into. And when I was looking at the statistics this morning, I think it was about a third of, extramarital affairs happen in the workplace. And I think that kind of makes sense because we're showing a lot of our real self and our passions and who we really are, when we show up to work. People get to see a whole different side of us than who we are when we wake up in the morning and our hair is like all over the place and, we're in our jammies and all of that. So, I really want to make it clear that during this time, you were not feeling good about this. Cause I know we spoke about this previously, that this wasn't like, oh, I'm so happy to be doing this and I don't really care what happens to my ex-husband.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, and I think there was part of me, I think when I reflect, after a lot of reflection and a lot of soul searching after everything, it's like I realized, I think I was just you said I wasn't looking for it, but I think part of me might have been looking for a way out.
Yes. Like I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Like, cause when somebody says, well, you're the source of all of my happiness, I kind of want to say, well, I'm going to turn into a monster so that I don't have that responsibility anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, I think there was part of me that was trying to make him hate me enough to let me go in some way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what wound up happening? Did he find out? Did you tell him? How did everything come to light?
So I tried to start the wheels turning on the conversation, like trying to push it like, hey, I'm not happy. And like, there's like things that are not good in our marriage. And it was again, just the like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't, you're the only thing that makes me happy. I don't, and it was just the same conversation and then, I just started pulling away. I was probably super obvious. And then one morning I woke up and my phone was not by my bed and he was gone. And then I don't even know how I got a text, maybe through I don't even know. God, that was such a blur. And my whole family was visiting. So people were sleeping on the couches and in the bedrooms. And that's, I guess, when he decided to look through my phone, which is interesting to me. Like, why would you do that while my whole family's there?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he left and made a big show. And I had to go meet him at a cemetery, which is very strange.
But so symbolic if you think about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that he was like, you killed me. This is why I wanted you to meet me at a cemetery. And are you in love with him? And I was just like, I don't know. And even then he was like, I remember he goes, I don't want you to leave me. And I was like, fuck. Like, he still wants to be with me. How do I get out of this now?
And did you already have plans to leave him? Had you and Locke talked about it, or you hadn't gotten that far?
No, me and Locke had not thought about it. He thought, like, this great woman is not going to, like, implode her life for me. Because I never said, like, I'm ready to run away with you. I was always like, my kids nothing can go wrong with my kids. Like, this can't interfere with my kid. That was so important to me. Like, it was like, that's the part that made me sick when I would think about like my kids. My mom, she dated a lot of guys and I just felt like I can't do this. I can't start this like chaotic cycle or something in their life. I don't know. But I'm sorry. I got off track.
So it blows up. You meet at the cemetery. Yeah. So what eventually happened?
So somehow, talking in circles, we decided to try to make it. I said, I need time. And he said, okay, well, let's give ourselves time. His mom got the kids and took them to South Carolina for 2 weeks. And we were supposed to like rekindle
the romance.
Yeah. And all I wanted to do was be alone. I wanted to just think, and I avoided it. And he was like, "We've had 2 weeks and we haven't even gone to, I think we went to dinner once." And I was like, and then he wanted to go to marriage counseling. And the first question they asked in marriage counseling was, "This isn't going to work unless you both want this to work." And I said, "I don't even know though. I don't know." And then and he was like, "Well," and so I said, "I just think this is pointless. I don't understand. I just think we need to look at the fact that I'm not exactly there yet," but that just wasn't even part of the equation, it felt.
Mhm.
So then I turned into a full-fledged monster and just said, "I'm not going to see you. I'm going to ignore you." And I feel like that was the point that I said, "All right, like blame, shame, and guilt, like let's all pack on to my back, and I'm going to try to make my way out of this with my kids safely under my arms, and I'll carry all of it." And I did. I did for 10 years. Like I was the Scarlet A, adulteress. And I said, "It's all my fault. He's the good guy. I'm the one who needs to be forgiven." And I just kind of went that way. And I thought, well, I can't.
Do you think on some deeper level that you did that to spare him that pain that you didn't want to cause him? So you were willing to take on way, way more. Because if you look at in any relationship, when it goes wrong, even if one person steps out, a relationship is a dynamic between two people. And his communication wasn't great. There certainly were things going on with him. He had resentments as well that he wasn't able to communicate with you. But you took this whole thing on. So you just said, "I'm out of here. I'm going to leave. I'm going to take the kids. We're done." And so everybody is just like, you just blew up your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had relatives messaging me saying, like, "You're going to end up alone. You're going to lose your kids. What are you doing? You're so selfish. You owe everybody in the family an apology. Everybody looked to you as a leader." And, just, and I would be like, "Yes, I am the piece of shit that you all, yes, I know." And I I never once told people the reason why I wasn't super happy in the marriage. Um, I don't think my husband was necessarily straight. And it was a huge burden that I just didn't talk about. Because one, I felt like, well, why did you marry somebody if you didn't think they were straight? Well, I was 20 and we got pregnant the first time we had sex. So give me a fucking break. Like I was 20. And that's what I come to realize now that I'm 42. Like that poor little girl was just 20 years old and had no idea what to do. And she thought she was doing the best thing.
So even after all of this time, and this happened how long ago? 10 years?
Yeah, about 10
About
years.
10 years, the emotional impact that it still has on you is significant.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like sorry. I was compelled to write down the story and write a whole book about it, and talk about how I've learned. So I would say, like, after the divorce, I just went through, I'm just like a party, like, girl. I think I tried to, like, play into whatever this monster scenario people were putting me into. And I mean, I'm talking the times I was away from my kids. Like when I had my kids, I was
Mom.
solid. I was
Yeah.
there. But when I wasn't, me and Locke were off, drinking, and I was having a social life, and but I think a lot of people saw that as like, she's wild and
Sounds like
doesn't care about.
you were free.
Yes, that's really what it felt like. I was free,
Mm-hmm.
for the first time ever,
Mm-hmm.
and I was happy, but I felt guilty about it. I mean, there was this like, just this thought of like, I shouldn't be happy, or I don't deserve to be happy.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Because of the way it played out. But what's
yeah.
interesting too is I think of some of the things that your family said to you. And this might be an unpopular opinion, and we'll see what kind of comments we get. But, you know, your family saying, "I thought you were a leader." Well, you know what? For someone to be unhappy and to finally make a decision that might be really tough for a lot of people around you, but to also show your children adversity and how to overcome adversity. In my opinion, that is a leader. Now, I'm sure looking back on it now, you probably would have changed a couple of things the way that it played out, obviously, right? But you could have stayed in this for another 30, 40 years,
Oh
suppressing
yeah.
everything about you, and maybe you having problems with alcohol or whatever because you can't honor your truth either.
Right. I mean, I think about that all the time. Like, what if I just stayed till the kids were 18? And I talk to my kids about it all the time. Like, would that have been better? And they're like, absolutely not. They were like, you and dad are so different. We see it now. And we love, we have a big blended family now. They've got two brothers, Locke's kids live here now. And
Oh,
they,
wait. So we have to update everybody then. So,
sorry.
so wait. So after you and
Okay.
your husband ended your relationship, Locke was in the picture, huh?
Yeah, I would say we spent about a year kind of like, what are we doing? What is this? I think I still had some apprehension about, or I don't know. I just was like, I'm kind of like single now and I don't know, like, am I ready to like jump into something serious? And I think we kind of danced. We would go on some dates and I was still trying to like make sure my kid, like I was in just like, I love the analogy that Amy Poehler uses about divorce, where it feels like you have like this picnic blanket and you've both thrown up the picnic blanket
Yeah.
and you're just like, everything's just up in the air and then it's down and you kind of have to reorganize and, get everything back where it goes. But it really felt like that. Like, oh my gosh, my picnic table is just, or my picnic is all messed up. So I need to reorganize that. And then we decided like, this is it. For me, I was like, I'm ready to like, I kind of looked around and nothing is this. So I said, let's just try it. And everybody hated him. My family, there was he just seemed like the enemy, but I thought, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like, I'm not saying this is what I'm putting all my eggs in my basket in, and like he's the one. And it's like I was leaving for me, not for a man. And I really wish that was more understood.
That's really important. When I work with couples, I tell them that too, is like if you're leaving a relationship, it's because the relationship is not working. And then figure out if there's somebody else on the side or a new relationship or whatever, then you figure out what to do with that. But it's almost always a disaster if you leave for somebody. It puts way too much stress
Right.
on the new relationship. So you and Locke are married, correct?
Yes. So we actually, today is our 4-year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. So you guys have blended families. You're married now. You seem to be, for all intents and purposes, happy. The kids seem well adjusted.
Yeah.
Where's your ex
Yeah.
in all of this?
He lives in Fort Worth. We live in Arlington, so he stayed close. He has a partner that he's had for a long time. And I would say the kids are pretty much, they were with me like pretty much 100% of the time, but they were still close to him. But he's still active. He doesn't like me. I mean, he still is like, oh, your mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I also, like, I heard the other day that he told the kids that like they're good people, they have good hearts because they were raised with people with good hearts. So I thought, okay, well, that's nice to know that you don't think I'm this black-hearted,
Right. So you
evil
found
woman.
some measure of peace throughout this entire journey yourself. So if
Oh,
you
yeah.
were to, people are going to watch this and so many people are going to resonate with your story. What would you tell people? Like, if you have like 3 important take home points that you really learned from this entire experience, what would you say they are?
I feel like when I was writing my book, really, which I think started out as like a very epic diary entry, um, But what I realized was it came back to blame, shame, and guilt. There's these three things that I was carrying around and just letting just swirl around me, and realizing when I broke those down, like how those are just absolutely unproductive emotions or feelings or things to cling to. I was to blame, and therefore I didn't think I was allowed to grieve or be sad that my marriage had ended. So once I was able to go, oh, I'm not the only person to blame here, and it's okay, I was able to let blame go. And then it was like just a fact. This marriage just didn't work out. And it was like, oh, and the kids are fine. Mm-hmm. You didn't ruin thousands of lives,
Isn't that funny too?
And it was like,
it's funny, right? Like, you're probably providing your children with a good role model for what real marital love and partnership is, because you were not doing that with your ex-husband.
Right. And what self-love looks like, and and not being dependent on another person for your happiness or for fulfillment or whatever. Mm-hmm. My kids have such a strong sense of self now, and they realize like the power of like independent happiness.
So this experience it sounds like motivated you to do some really deep personal self-growth. Now you have your own coaching business, right? So tell everybody about that. Yeah. Tell everyone where they can reach you. Let's blast it out there.
Yes. I feel like this journey has been going in this direction for a while, but I always just felt like, I don't know, I don't think I'm good enough to be a coach. I'm not smart enough, or there was a lot of self-doubt there. But then after I wrote my book and wrote it down and realized like, I do have something to say here that is really important. This is different because this is about loving yourself through like your messy seasons or any kind of turmoil you're going through, like just asking yourself, like, how could I love myself through this situation and not hate myself and not beat myself up and not just wear myself down in the process. I just want to help other people do that and realize that you don't have to carry around shame, blame, and guilt through every season of your life and feel like shit through every transition.
This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So where can people reach you?
Feel free to email me at danny@dannymorrellcoaching.com or my website, to where you can book a discovery session or get a package. I also have a free truth workbook that I just made, and I'm super proud of it. Just kind of help you go through some, have a thought in mind, and you can kind of go through that and go through the questions, and it asks about like, where's shame in this, where is blame in this, and where is guilt.
Love it.
And let's remove those and see what we're left with. You're probably left with a pretty, maybe, scared little girl who just needs some guidance and some love. But the website, I don't have the website up let me see real quick.
If you don't have it, we'll be able to post it at the end of the video.
Yeah, it's on Paper Bell. But yes, on Paper Bell.
Okay.
We'll
so it's important for everybody to know, though, that they can reach out to you. They can email you to book a call, to speak to you, to give you feedback, whatever. And so, Danny, it has been absolutely amazing to speak to you today. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your willingness to come on and share really a powerful story that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people. And God bless you. You're living your truth, and it's messy in all of the phases for sure. So, and again, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of From Mayhem to Mindset. Peace out. Thanks for joining us on From Mayhem to Mindset. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star review. It really helps spread the message. Want to dive deeper? Check out my book, Wisdom from the Universe, available now on Amazon. And if you're looking for a speaker to inspire and transform, I'd love to connect. Visit www.lauraellick.com to learn more. Remember, you don't have to just survive, you can thrive. See you next time.